Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Okay, so I'm going to be here to talk to you about the realities of actually getting raided, what it feels like to have your door smashed in. Before I do that, I'm going to very, very quickly go over who are Cage and what do Cage do, and why is it a good idea that after you call your solicitors and your lawyers, you give Cage a call as well. Cage was set up in the aftermath of 9/11, with brothers being taken to places like Guantanamo Bay. Initially, it started out working purely on the basis of Gitmo and trying to get brothers out of there. Obviously, post 9/11, we realized that the laws that had been applying for a long time about justice and knowing the evidence and being given a fair trial were straight away being thrown out the window. This was a game changer. And so Cage was a response to that. Cage was the Muslim response to that. There is an attack upon us and they're trying to take away our rights and our liberties, and we need to defend that and step up and speak on behalf of the Muslims and to call a spade, say, look, this isn't right. We have the same rights as every other people in society. So Cage mainly work in a few sort of aspects. Firstly, we do casework, which is that we will help people make sure they've got the right solicitors. Obviously, as the speaker before me said, it's really important that if in any of these situations, your number one priority should be to get a solicitor. Your number two priority is that person is not the duty solicitor. You need someone who knows what they're doing. You need somebody like Saghir, or this brother here, mashallah, sorry, Ahmed, or Bernbergs, people who do these cases and actually know what's going on. Somebody who's not going to come in and is used to dealing with drunken disorderlies and now he's dealing with a high-profile terrorism case. They're going to be out of their depth, yeah? So in this regard, Cage help people in their legal matters by giving them some advice, giving them an ear, telling them, look, this is what's going to be coming up, this is what you can expect, these are good solicitors, these are ones that we've worked with, and basically just helping people in that regard. The second part of it, which I'll talk a bit further on, is to do with the media, which is another aspect, especially in these sorts of cases. People can find the media parked up outside their doors, outside their parents' houses, and especially in this area recently, we know that the media has descended en masse, hunting down people's Twitter accounts and the different smells that may or may not have been smelt in recent times in the Ladbroke Grove area. So anyway, before I go on to finish off on the media aspects, I'm going to talk about what it is to be raided, what it feels like. As the brother mentioned, I was on a control order for 2 years. And I spent 6 months in Belmarsh, so I've been raided probably more times than I can count. I'd generally be raided at least once or twice a week, depending on if it was a good week or not. I'm going to go for one of the more serious ones, when I was raided for allegedly trying to gain access to false passports, which when it came before a judge, he said that there was never any evidence at all that I'd been in any way involved in trying to obtain false documentation. But this is how it happened from my perspective. I'd just done Fajr, I was going back to bed, starting to snooze, and suddenly there's a loud banging on the door, and the door comes in, and suddenly I just hear screams and shouts. Obviously make my way to the hallway as quickly as possible, see what's going on. And I see about 15, 20 officers in black riot gear with face masks on. It looks like you're being burgled, not raided. You don't know who these people are, and they come charging into your house, and everybody's screaming. You haven't got a clue what they're screaming at you because there are so many people shouting. They came and they put me down on the ground and handcuffed me straight away. And at that point, my primary concern wasn't me, but it was actually the other people in the house. I felt that, look, I can handle this. This wasn't my first time being raided, and it wasn't the last either. But it wasn't too much of a concern for me. I was more concerned about the other people in the house. There were some sisters in the house at that time, and they weren't covered. So my concern was for my family and for the other people around at that time. And that's the area that generally tends to get brothers upset and riled up. No one wants to think of strange men coming into a sister's bedroom, into the children's bedroom, and distressing them at that time in the morning. And obviously, this is going to hurt you in your heart and make you want to sort of like defend yourself and fight back. That is invariably the worst thing to do. Unfortunately, at that stage, at that moment, the best thing you can do is be compliant and don't say anything at all. Especially, one of the things I've experienced many, many times is on the car ride to the police station, they get in a friendly chat about, what do you think about Afghanistan? No, this isn't a good idea, yeah? You might not think that you're being interviewed at this stage, but you are. Yeah, the most you talk about is how Arsenal played on Saturday. Yeah, definitely don't get into any conversations about anything with the police. That goes for when they're raiding you, that goes for before, if they approach you on the street, that goes for if MI5 give you a call and say, hi, we'd like to have a chat and we just think that you've got some really interesting things to tell us about like the way Muslims feel at the moment in Britain. No, they don't care about that. And you're not going to convince them in the car journey that, you know, they've made a critical error and that they should pull over to the side of the road and let you go get your Dixie chicken. That's not happening, yeah? And it's not happening that when MI5 come and see you on the street, that you're going to suddenly convince them that they've made a big, massive mistake and that all the Muslims are really innocent people. They're coming to talk to you to either gather information for themselves, or if they don't gather anything, then you're lying anyway. So the best thing to do with all of these people is never talk to them without your solicitor present. That goes for intelligence agencies if they come and approach you on the street. That goes for the police when you're in an interview in the police station. Always have a solicitor present if you're talking to people of authority, because they don't have your best interests at heart. They have their next promotion in heart. They have their next arrest at heart. This is what is driving their intentions. Okay? Sadly, they're getting pushed to hit their targets just the same as everybody else. So, your doors come down and you're being raided. Obviously, that fear that's there, you have to try and remain in control of what you're doing and what you're saying. If you overreact to them, then they're going to react 10 times as much to you, because this is how they're trained to deal with people who are posing any sort of threat to them, or even if they feel, even in the slightest part without any basis, that you're a threat. This is when they're going to start getting very heavy-handed. Yeah, they may get heavy-handed even if you don't pose any threat. I can't promise that they won't, but if you give them even a 5%, they'll take it as a 60, as a 70. My grandmother used to say, give them an inch, they'll take a mile. This goes doubly so when they've got battering rams and pepper spray and possibly even stun guns. Yeah. So, inshallah, remain calm, and as the brother said, call a solicitor, and at the first opportunity, get in touch with Cage as well. Cage will be able to put you in touch with other groups that are very important to talk to, like HHUGS, who might be able to support your family. Cage will be able to make sure that, inshallah, you've got solicitors who are experts in these areas, and will, inshallah, be able to advise you on other areas around these sorts of cases. I think, to be honest, there's not too much more to say about that. I want to take a minute. I'm a media officer for Cage as well. So a lot of the time, a lot of the work that I do is talking to people who have been raided and trying to see if it's worth them talking to the media. Our general position is not that we are pro or anti doing interviews or doing things with the media. It's on a case-by-case basis. In some cases, there's a genuine benefit to the case in doing something in a very careful and structured way, and in other cases, it's better just to lay low and let things blow over. Yeah. So, what Cage do is, because we've had, as I say, 10, 15 years of experience of doing this, and because we have existing relationships with people in the press, if it is the case that people need to get their voice out, it's better to do it with Cage, because of our pre-existing relationships, the media are less likely to, what we call, burn you. Burning is, for example, Saghir. They want to do a story about Saghir, and they're going to meet him for this one story, and they know they're never going to need to talk to him again. So they get the story from him, and then there's no imperative on their part to put it across truthfully and as it is, because they know they're not going to talk to Saghir again. I'm not saying this actually about Saghir. I'm just talking in general here as a abstract. They know they're not going to talk to him again, so they can just write whatever they want and twist what he says. where they work with Cage, they work with us week in, week out, month in, month out. We've done so many stories with them, going all the way back to Guantanamo, to Saghir Ahmed. They know that if they do something like that with us, we're not going to work with them again. And just like the police are all, their objective is just getting the next arrest and getting the next conviction, with the media, their next objective is just getting the next headline. And so they work well with us because they know that there'll be another story in a few weeks. So this is why they don't burn the people that we work with, because they know that they need to maintain that relationship. And that's the way in which Cage offers a level of protection to the community when we do media pieces. They generally turn out much better than in cases where people just sort of go it alone. And as I said, we take each case on a case-by-case basis, and we talk extensively with the people involved about whether it's actually the best thing for them to do, whether what their solicitors are saying about it. But in some cases it is necessary. In some cases the media have come out and said all these things negatively about good and innocent and honest people, and it's important that the Muslims get out there and actually put the counter side of the narrative there, actually speak the truth to power and say, no, you can't just blanket brush us all with the same target. You can't have this free reign to make these accusations and then expect that there's going to be no comeback afterwards. We have a voice as well, and we're entitled to use that voice. Sometimes using it isn't the best thing to do, and this is why it's always a case by case. There isn't a starting point of, let's go and put everything on the front page. Inshallah, I'm not going to waste too much more of your time, inshallah, with myself, when we have Saghir here who can give you a much more interesting talk than myself. But just to say, Jazakallah khairan for turning up, and mashallah, it's nice to see so many people. If you've got any questions afterwards, feel free to come and ask me anything. Take care. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.